Okay, so this time around I'm going to make another project, and I'm going to be using the same features that I had on the Pokeball, but now I'm going to be actually taking the high polygonal sculpture and doing something with it. I will be starting a new rank project, so I'm going to go to File and say New. I'm going to be selecting the low polygonal sculpture, and even though in here I can start importing some other maps, I will not import anything other than the base color map. This is not entirely the base color map. This was the texture color that I started modifying inside of Modbox, but taking into account that I'm still using primary colors, this is great for a map that is going to be showing me what materials are going to be what. So I'm just going to hit open, and then I'm going to create this map. Now the best features that Substance Painter have is that I can actually do real smart materials, which I'm going to be doing in a second. But for those materials, what I need to do is create or fill out these texture set settings. The only texture that I have available right now is going to be the Pokeball base color that I imported. Although I already have the normal map and the ambient occlusion map, I'm just going to start fresh here like I didn't have them, because probably if I want to do everything here I could without the need of working with XNormal. So I'm gonna go here to under texture settings, bake mesh maps, and I'm going to be selecting that high definition sculpture. The output size is going to be 2K. This is just a preview. The actual texture size is going to be important once I get these textures out of Substance Painter. These are sort of a preview version. This is something I can change later. The other thing is, if I didn't have a high polygonal sculpture and I still wanted to get an ambient occlusion map, I can just use that from here. The same with the other maps that Substance Painter is going to be baking for me. I will also do an anti-aliasing of 2x. I can go larger than that, but this temporary example, I'm just going to drop it in later. So I'm just going to hit these baking sets, and I will, as you can see, it's actually starting generating all of those maps that I want to talk about them later. All of them are baking, all of them are giving me an idea of, yeah, I generated all of these. So let's take a look at all the maps that got generated. So I'm gonna hit OK here, and first of all, this is the ambient occlusion map, so no doubts this is what we generated in XNormal. This one here is a curvature map. What a curvature map is going to be, whenever Substance Painter sees something that is curved, it is going to have it in a darker tone. Whenever it reaches to a border like this, it is going to be marking it in white, so over here. This is going to be really helpful for whenever it's doing some smart materials later. This one is the same normal map that XNormal generated for me. This one over here is going to be my my position. This is basically what is up, what is in front, what is behind, and so forth. This is really related to the world space normals, that is telling what is above and what is below, but this one you can consider one in local space, the other one in global space. This is going to be the map that I added, so I can just drag and drop that on the select ID map, and this one here is going to be a thickness map. What it is going to do for me is, a thickness map is going to say in real volumetric units, what is or how does it look like to be in the mesh of this Pokeball. So over here, there's not a lot of thickness, like from here to here, but there is going to be a lot of thickness inside of the Pokeball, and as you can see in that area, that part is the wider. So this is basically creating voxels inside of the Pokeball, and it's going to be filling up that Pokeball. So with that, I'm just going to go back to my layers, and what I want to do now is go down to where it says Smart Materials. So inside of Smart Materials, I can do really cool looking materials just by drag and dropping. I can select something like this, all machinery, just drag and drop. It is going to be taking a look at all of the masks, and this is what it is going to show me. What it's gonna look like. So there are many different materials that I can apply just directly now that I have this map. Like if I want to make these look like leather, see, it does look like real cool leather. If I want to make it look like wood, over here, it's like Pokeball carved out of wood. I can play with the grain, the direction in which it's growing, and so forth. So this is great. Like, these materials are really well done. and all of them are parameterized, so meaning that I can actually modify these things. So yeah, this is looking like bone, but what if I am in a different sort of context, which bones are going to be of a different color? Maybe alien bones are made out of different materials, so I can make it green, and there you go. So these materials are amazing. I'm going to be throwing in a couple of them. I'm going to be making my Pokeball on aluminum color here on the top, and I want to have this chrome material, or maybe this aluminum down below here. Probably, let's see how these look like for the band. So this looks nice. Maybe some different materials, a latex made out of for the Pokeball would be interesting. So let me take out this charcoal. Yeah, that looks interesting. It's too shiny for what I liked it to be, but you know, so far so good. So I'm going to be taking all of these materials, and what I'm going to do now is I'm going to be creating special masks for them. I'm going to have the vast majority of the Pokeball be this aluminum, but now I want to add this band. So I can do the same thing that I did the last video and just add a black mask and paint white on top of this, but I'm going to do something easier. I'm going to right click and I'm going to say add a black mask. So everything is going to be not applied, but now on the mask I'm going to right click and say add color selection. This color selection is when I click this, it is going to show me the color code map, and I will say everything that is supposed to be black now it's going to have this material. And just as easy as that, just click on top of it, and that is going to give me that material selection. Now the next one is going to be this. I'm going to add a black mask, and this one is going to have a color selection of everything that is supposed to be red. So let me see what I did here. Oh, I didn't apply it, that's why. So add color selection here. Perfect. So with that, I have somewhat of a border over here, and that has to do with the tolerance that this thing has. So I'm gonna be increasing it a little bit, maybe too much. And there you go. So that is my Pokeball monster now made out of these materials. This Pokeball monster didn't really took that much time to make. I can probably make a better looking Pokeball, more like the ones that are created for the games, but I just wanted to show you the full potential this thing has. So if I drag and drop these and remove the metal base, I can have that Pokeball monster just cover in sort of rust, which is interesting. This is going to be taking into account the actual geometry that this thing have. So imagine that that is the material that I have, but I wanted to clean it up. So it's rusted, but I wanted to, you know, apply some sort of filter, or I don't know, somebody cleaned it up. So I'm just going to go to add a white mask, and over here what I want to is actually paint on top of it. So I'm going to say add paint, and I can say the color of the paint is going to be black, so that is going to be not applied. So I can just start cleaning this up. I'm actually going to do that with my stylus right now, so I'm going to move these out of the way, and I'm going to start painting these. So this is what a clean eyeball is going to look like. I mean, it makes sense that if this is an eyeball, this part would be clean. Probably he had his eyes closed or something, so he didn't collect all this dust that I'm just going to be refining. Something else that is going to be really cool inside of Substance Painter is apply particles, and that is the next thing that I'm going to do. So probably after somebody cleaned him in a particular area, like, yeah, I don't want to see anything in here, they pour some liquid on top of it so it doesn't, so they try to clean it up, and I can do that really easily, like procedural based. If I just go down here to particles and say apply some liquid stream on top of it, I can just start literally throwing water, and see, it's actually getting into all the crevices and it's cleaning up this model as it should. One thing that is really important to notice here is that it's actually following the normal map. Do you see that? My actual geometry is flat. If I see it from the side, you'll see that I have no geometry. But when I throw the stream, it's actually following as if it had that geometry based on the normal map. So that is really interesting to appreciate here. So I'm cleaning it up with this water hose or something. It's some sort of liquid to take out the rust, not entirely water. But there are many different materials that I can apply here, and all of them are going to be exactly that, smart materials. Like if I wanted to do some sort of let's see, there was an interesting one. There was mud. Let's see if I can just add it like that. Rubber tire. I think that's the one that I'm looking for. But it's basically going to say, well, tire or the mud is going to be concentrated more down here. Rubber tire dirty. It's going to be concentrated more on the bottom, because if this is going to be like a tire, then it's going to get more dirt underneath that on the top. So that is really interesting. I can just remove something like the base, and then now it's going to be like that, and I can take out the dirt and I can take out the base color and whatnot. So it's a matter of start playing with the layers. This works pretty much like Photoshop layers, although I can modify a lot of these properties. So if I throw in another smart material like the wood, for instance, on top, I can play with a lot of different things here, like the grain. So the sharpen fibers are going this way, so I can actually start the rotation of the fibers. And now my Pokeball is aligned like this, vertically, or I can make them horizontal. So entirely up to me how I want to play with this. And again, I can apply a filter to this. So add a white mask. I can apply a black mask, and then I can go to my particles and say something like an organic shape. So this wood here, it's gonna be like a virus. It's spreading. Do you see that? So it's just selecting in here, and it's going. This is really good for making something organic based, and then creating textures like that is really simple to do. Sandstorm, so everything is beaten off by storm, and that maybe the whole thing wasn't really made out of metal. It was just a coat of metal on top of a wooden box or something. Take a look at that. It does make it seem that it's painted on top of wood. So this is the power of XNormal, Substance Painter. This is really nice, because how much time would I have taken to make this sort of design inside of Photoshop? I mean, here's just a couple of clicks and then I'm all set. But for this, I do require to have a high polygonal sculpture, so I can take out the normal information out of it. I can do the same result with this. I'm going to make a new file here, so it's a super quick example. New, and I'm going to select the low polygonal sculpture, and I can bake super quickly the other one, bake map, use the low poly as the high poly. I'm not going to put that much effort into this one, so I'm just going to do it really quick. And couldn't create a color ID, which is fine. I can use the color ID from the other one if I wanted to. But now that I have all of these, well, you know what, let's do it. So I'm gonna hit import here, and I'm gonna add that resource, which is going to be that map, and I'm going to define that as a texture that I can apply to my Pokeball. So I want to impart this to the current project. I haven't named this project yet, so that's why, and I can apply that normal map or that ID map over here. So of course it's not going to give me the information of the eyes and all of those things, but at the same time I can still apply some smart materials now that I created my masks. So can make these bones stylized, like the whole Pokeball is made out of bones, and then probably I can make some cover out of this material, but I just want to apply that when I have a black mask. So black mask, and add a color selection. Once again, I can just pick whatever is this. So it's now paint on top of bone, which kind of looks creepy, but you know, it's really nice. Again, of course, I don't have the information that I had earlier. I can do a lot of different things in here. If I wanted to make it somewhat of military coat, see how it looks like actual fabric. It's covering this Pokeball. I can do a black mask, so nothing is assigned until I paint on top of it. So I can go here, and I can either do that in this space, like I can start doing some lines here, high, so it's covering that, or I can do it in this 3D view, whatever is more comfortable to me. So I'm gonna move it onto this side, and over here I'm just gonna do a smiley face. Again, this is really just me playing with this tool to show you what the things are. Notice that the settings are actually pushing these on underneath, so it's like the Pokeball, like this metal is carved on top of something that looks like fabric instead of the other way around. But again, I can play with all of those settings on the fabric woodland if I wanted to. I can say that there's going to be a height, and I want to modify that height and just, you know, push it forward. So there's a lot of different things and parameters that I can play with in here. As you can see, there's the folds that is going to be showing me like the edges that make it look like fabric. So there's many different things that I can play with in this software. This was more like an introduction kind of thing to how you can make textures really quick with these settings. So that is going to be it for this video. There's so many things that I would like to talk about inside of Substance Painter. I really like this software, but you know, it's time for me to move on to something else. So what I think that I'm going to do for the very last video is, instead of just doing a super quick compilation of how to apply a texture like I did in the past two tutorials, I'm going to be making a different kind of a Pokeball. So over here, if I go back to my Pokeball references, if I go to my source images, there's many different Pokeballs that I can play with. So probably I'm going to be doing something like a Great Ball. So just going to be using a different texture for the Pokeball. There's not a lot that I can do with a single Pokeball with no Great Ball features or anything. So I want to make it a little bit more interesting. So I'm going to be using Substance Painter to create a new Pokeball. That video is going to be a little bit more lengthy because I'm going to be devoting more time to put that. I'm still going to be putting it in a 2x or 3x speed, so you get to see it. But it is going to be a different kind of video than the ones that I have been making for making it like a compact lecture. So that is going to be it for this series. Once I'm done with that speed recording, that is it. So I hope that you learn a lot through this series. I hope that you like them, and I will be seeing you the next time.